Nothing to do with the video topic. It's just a bonus. It's one of my favorite shirts. Found it in a kind of a high-end shop in Cincinnati. Oddly enough, um, Riverfront Stadium was where I went to see my first pro baseball game. Saw the Reds. I'm a Reds fan, so feel sorry for me. Um, they haven't been like consistently good since I was a little kid. But anyway, has nothing to do with this. I've heard a lot of analogies, well, a few analogies for writing, especially for pantsers. If you don't know what a pantser is a writer who flies by the seat of their pants. Um, they don't have a whole plot laid out for the story, and they don't have it broken into beats and know exactly what's going to happen. They don't have a skeleton already built, and they just put the meat on it. That's a plotter. Pantser just kind of discovers. It's also called discovery writing, and that's pretty much what I am. I heard somebody the other day on one of the um, social media things. I think it might have been Threads or Instagram. It was Threads, and they talked about they were up to chapter whatever, and they only had 9 chapters to go, and they were going to be finished with their book. And I messaged back, and I said, I don't mean to be rude, but what do you mean you have 9 chapters to go? How do you have any idea how many chapters are in your book? I don't know how many chapters are going to be in my book ever until I get to the end. It's like, yeah, it's over now. That's the last chapter. And this person not only has all their chapters, they have titles for all their chapters. And they know what's going to happen in all of them. And I find that kind of boring. Part of the joy of writing is the discovery. The times that I'm writing along and think, wow, why did he do that? What's that going to mean later in the story? And that's me. I'm a pantser, and I've heard two analogies that really kind of are apt for pantsing. And one is the driving at night analogy, where you kind of know in general where you're going, but you can only see the road ahead of you as far as the headlights go. And that's kind of where I am. That I see that analogy that works. You're just kind of feeling your way along, just going as far ahead of you as the headlights can see, and you don't know for sure where the bridge might be out ahead, or there might be a turn that you weren't expecting, a fork in the road where you have to decide, am I going to go left or right? And so that's a good analogy. And then the second analogy I heard is similar to that, and that is exploring a house a room at a time. And this is kind of for people who are plotzers, I guess you'd say, who are kind of a hybrid between pantsers and plotters, um, where you may have a diagram where okay, right here's the bedroom, right here's the living room, right here's the bathroom, right here's the kitchen. You know where all those things are, but you don't really know them until you walk into them and look around and you pick stuff up and you open drawers and things like that. And so there's that. But for me, the thing that kind of hit home, and I hadn't really thought about it until it happened to me this week, and this is really kind of accurate because it's happened to me almost every time I've written a book. And I'm on my seventh, I think, book, seventh or eighth maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, um, I have this thing, and it's kind of like I liken it. The analogy I use is mining for gold or jewels or something like that. Mining for gold is probably best. Where you are kind of digging along, and you come across a little tiny speck of gold, enough to keep you going, and then you dig a little longer and you find another little speck of gold, and it's not enough, but it's enough to keep you going. And at some point in time, if you are really lucky, you're digging along and suddenly you see in the dirt a streak of gold, and then you open it up and you realize this is a whole vein, and it goes all over the place. It goes left and right and forward and up and down, and you realize this is an amazing find. You've struck it rich, and for me, that's kind of like how my writing is. Um, the book that I'm working on right now, I wasn't clear on um, how it was going to go forward from where I was about 4,000 words ago, and it just had been at a stopping point. done some writing, write a few hundred words here, a few hundred words there, kind of pushing the plot forward a little bit, but not sure what to do with it. And so I was sitting at my keyboard a few days ago, just kind of staring off into space, trying to figure out what to do. And it just struck me. What if the bad guys, the secondary bad guys in this story, um, are a charitable organization that's not really charitable. Um, they're cooking the book. They're um, they're taking the money that's donated and they're using some of it for good stuff, but they're also siphoning money off for their own personal gain. And well, for one thing, I wasn't sure that that was true. But then when I decided that that was true, I thought, well, how will I catch them? And I realized, wait a minute, I didn't even do this on purpose, but one of the main characters is an accountant. That's what he does for a living. I mean, he's going to be a detective. She's going to quit her job someday and be a full-time detective. But she's also an accountant. So I thought, well, what if she started doing like a forensic accounting check on these people? And so I started doing some research, and I found out that there are things you can do to look for questionable accounting practices in organizations and things like that. And so I kind of this whole plot moving forward of what they did and what they did to cover it up um, made perfect sense. And then I realized, wait a minute, these people are part of a charitable organization. Um, and the main bad guy in the story is a pastor of a church, who's not really a pastor of a church. He's not really who he says he is, but he serves on boards and charitable organizations and things like that. And so I realized that this secondary plot that I was writing, which was just another kind of minor case that my main character, my detective, was investigating, was now going to be able to be tied directly into my main plot line. And I hadn't planned for that at all. I figured it was just going to be kind of another interesting plot, a subplot in the story that wasn't connected. It was just another case he was following, that he was investigating. And I realized that he was going to be able to solve he and his wife, he being the main character who's the narrator, and his wife, they were going to be able to solve both crimes at the same time with their investigation into the charitable organization. And so for me, that happens almost every time. And I really feel like that I'm kind of stumbling along and then I come across an idea. And at that point, the whole rest of the plot just kind of opens up in front of me. And this is not at all where I thought the book was going to go. I mean, the main ending is still going to be the main ending. It's still going to end where I planned for it to end, and that's at Blackwater Falls in West Virginia. But it's going to get there in a very different way. And that's all because I was sitting around trying to figure out how to move the plot forward, and I found this big nugget of gold. And for me, that's my writing process, where I just kind of move it forward until I find the vein, and that's when the writing really picks up its pace. And so I really enjoy that. Um, and it's been that kind of writing that makes me want to start a new book every time. So that's my process. Godspeed.